The HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast is fueled by Eukanuba. If you want to get the most of your dog in your training sessions, you need nutrition that holds nothing back. Eukanuba's new premium performance lineup is built with the nutrients dogs need to help unleash their max potential. That starts with providing energy that matches their efforts, supporting optimal nutrient delivery, and supporting post-exercise recovery. Check out the new Eukanuba premium performance lineup and find your dog's fuel at eukanubasportingdogs.com. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. CGA is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos that includes everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to sign up for the free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. All right, guys, season's here, and we know you're not leaving your pups at home. Gunner Kennels is known for their crash-tested crates, but now they're ensuring that you can defend your food too. They've created their new food crate, which has got to be the most durable food container ever made. This thing holds 50 pounds of dog food, uses heavy-duty roto-molded construction with airtight gaskets and seals to ensure food freshness. A durable lockable latch makes sure that raccoons and rodents can't get in there either. Gunner also guarantees that it's waterproof, dustproof, and airtight. It's constructed for portability as well, so you can keep it at home, throw it in the back of the truck, bring it to camp. Wherever you go, the food crate can go with you. Just like Gunner Kennels, the food crate comes with a lifetime guarantee and is overbuilt right here in the USA. Check them out and get yours today at gunner.com. Original design, select grade components, superior sound, and unparalleled service. 737 takes exceptional pride in producing the finest quality, best built premium calls on the market today. They're made right here in America, and they're offered only direct to consumers through their website. Shipping in the U.S. is always free, and international orders are also accepted online. A 20-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty accompanies every call purchased. 737 Duck Calls. Lead the flock. All right, welcome. Episode 202 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. We're your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. Check us out at hpoutdoors.com. You can find our show where all quality podcasts can be found. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all the good ones you can find our show. You can obviously find us on social media too. If you're into Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, we're on all those platforms, as well as we've got a Facebook group. You can join in there, talk with a bunch of like-minded hunters. And my co-host, Dan Ruska. Dan, what's up, man?
Been a traveling man, my friend. It's been good. And something that never gets old is when you're talking with mutual friends and somehow their buddies listen to the podcast and they start talking about the podcast, and then they're like, oh yeah, Dan, he's my friend. And it was actually it's weird because I was talking with one of the owners of my company yesterday, and he was talking to a guy in the oil field business, and he's like, yeah, I waterfowl hunt, and we talked about possibly getting a trip together, and this fellow he was talking to, he's like, yeah, we were going to North Dakota, and my son put on a DU podcast, and then he said, I didn't want to listen to anything else, so he said, find another waterfowl podcast. So they ended up putting ours on. Well, he's from down near Pittsburgh, and he's like, somehow they got talking about drones and all that fun stuff and duck hunting, and they said, yeah, I know Dan does a podcast. So I get a text late last night. He's like, what's the name of your podcast? So I told him, and he's like, yeah, this guy, he was actually buying a decked system off him for a F-250 for one of their work trucks. So nice. It full circle, but it's always funny when you get on and start talking with someone in that fashion.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. We've had people say, some of our buddies are like, yeah, I'm on an airplane, and it's like you start talking to the dude next to you and start talking to waterfowl hunt or something, and the show comes up like, oh yeah, listen to that. And it's just always kind of funny how that all
I never know how to react. I never know how to react. I'm just like, yeah, like because we're just regular dudes, and it's like, oh, I listen to you, man. It's so awesome hearing your voice, and I'm like, yeah, nothing special here, bro. Is what it is.
Yeah, it's cool.
It
It's
is
fun.
cool.
But anyway, so yeah, you've been on the road a bunch, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, and that's kind of the genesis of this week's episode. But before we get into that, we like to periodically talk about news and that comes out in the waterfowl world. And something that caught my eye in the most recent Delta Waterfowl magazine is there's a new duck species that they have brought in, named or what have you.
Say what?
Yeah. Page
Will
11
Ferrell?
there, Dan, as you break yours out. Yeah, it's basically the Mexican duck is a new species that gained status in 2020. So amid the whole COVID deal, we got a new duck species. It's a large brown-bodied puddle duck found from central Mexico into the southwest United States, and was sort of long considered, I'm reading from the magazine here, a subspecies of the mallard. But they've done DNA analysis and all this other stuff. So now it's got its own deal. And when you look at it, it kind of looks like a hen mallard to me, frankly.
So that's an old issue. That's the winter issue of Delta. So can you hold that up real quick so I can see it?
Yeah. Since we're zooming.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I bet those get thrown in as hen mallards a lot.
Oh, I'm sure. I have no question about that. So,
and where are they at, did you say?
Says they are located from central Mexico into the southwestern United States. So they're closely related to the mallard, yet they are distinct.
What, in their DNA? Because definitely not in their looks.
Right. Well, and I guess they basically, because of black ducks and molted ducks having their own separate species, they decided that this one met that threshold as well. So,
say model ducks?
No, I said molted ducks. Oh. Clean your ears out, Dan. Get the taters out of there. Anyway, I thought that was cool. I mean, that's just something you don't read every day, right? You don't see that kind of going on. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Nice.
But yeah, that's all I got in that front. But so let's talk about this trip of yours.
Yes.
I mean, just utter insanity.
It was a good trip. So it was a work trip, and I tried to, before we started recording, we kind of went over a map of the United States and how many states we've been to. I think we're super close to each other. Some I can't believe that you haven't been to, and some I wish I could go to. So I think I'm at 39. And what were you at, 37? Right around there?
Yeah, I got 13 I have not been to.
So this trip I marked off Wisconsin, Minnesota, North and South Dakota, Montana, Idaho, and Washington. So I drove to Spokane, probably round trip 70 hours of driving for, I don't know, 90 minutes of work total, I assume.
I mean,
so
you were sending me snaps for what I felt like was a week and a half of just scenery, like random road beautiful stuff. And I'm like, every time you kept sending to me, I'm like, dude, you are still driving? Like, what the, like, what? So, like, I felt like so much of my life passed by as you were just on the road. Like, so much happened.
Driving. So it was 4,440 miles in 5 days solo with 2 work stops. So yeah, almost averaging 900 miles a day for 5 days straight. That's the most I've driven. And it was pretty neat. So what, this conversation, this episode, we kind of want to talk about states we've been to, states we haven't been to, and states that we want to go and hunt in. So I guess first off, I'm going to talk about a little place in North Dakota. It's called Mandan. and I should have stopped there and got a shirt. So if
I mean,
anyone,
if the shoe fits.
I mean, Mandan, it's, if anyone lives near Mandan and has a second to send me a shirt, I'll Venmo or
I
PayPal you.
mean,
But
I'm gonna take a wild stab here and bet you could probably find something on the interwebs.
yeah,
I mean, I would even go as far to say is they probably have better internet than you do at Mandan.
dude. So here's the deal: the only place that had worse internet than me was the bottom canyons going through like Idaho. Everywhere else, unbelievable. And I still don't understand how my service is so bad here.
So the internet hierarchy goes literally every other far-reaching corner of the country, and then
Now I
lines
don't know
well.
about internet. I don't know about internet. That was, service, good LTE service. I could FaceTime whenever I wanted.
Mm.
And but yeah, it's anyway. So let's go. I just want to give my overall view of some of these states and what I thought about driving through.
Let me ask another question before we get
Sure.
into this that our listenership will likely appreciate. So you sent me a picture of your vehicle the night before you left, and it was packed like
Mhm.
to the rim with just gear and whatever else you were
Mhm.
taking. Just so many Pelican cases and lithium fire hazards. Just you're driving like
Yeah.
a nuclear bomb essentially.
Mhm.
It looked a little tight. How would you compare and contrast driving loaded down in whatever rig it is that you drive to when you would have the van? And would you, in that scenario, would you have been able to utilize stow and go? And would it have helped your comfort on the ride out?
um, Stow and Go definitely could have been utilized for many accessories. So dumb. But yeah,
Oh, it's too funny. It's just too good. I can't help myself.
I tell you what, man. As much as people hate on vans, they ride nice.
I
that long
mean,
wheelbase, and
the
I
first
mean,
thing you the first thing you told me when you bought it was that it had surprisingly good pickup. You're like, it'll get up and go.
I wasn't burning rubber, but yeah, it's. I mean, you could just set the cruise and go. So anyway, yeah, but well, so long story, I guess short story to make longer. Um, my son and my dad were supposed to go on a trip with me, and I left Wednesday morning, and Tuesday night he started feeling sick and woke up. He went to bed super early and woke up at like 8 or 9 o'clock and had 103 temperature, and we're just still dealing with that a little bit now. So anyway, so we shut that down. I was able to put the seats down and had no issue with room. But yeah, making a little pod for him back there to go on that trip. And what the plan was to go out and on the way back hit Yellowstone and really take our
Yeah.
time meandering way back. And that just didn't happen. So I said, I'm going to go out and turn around and come back. So that's what I did. And he definitely wouldn't have been able to handle the 5 days like I did. But I think stopping in Yellowstone and doing that fun stuff, Mount Rushmore and all that, it would have been
That'd have been
good.
cool.
Yeah. So anyway, heading from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, been through all them. Wisconsin, um, I kind of felt like that was almost like home. It was a pretty area. I enjoyed driving through Wisconsin. Wisconsin, Minnesota, I feel like there should be like wolves everywhere just from driving on the highway. Do you ever get that feeling in Minnesota? I guess the Timberwolves are the basketball team, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. It just looks like a wolfy area.
Like
But
because of like thick, dense timber, like kind of deal.
yeah, just it looks like Canadian wolf habitat. But I did enjoy it, and there are just a lot of low lying, like swampy areas driving through that region. Um, definitely enjoyed it. It's very pretty scenery. And then getting up into North Dakota, got hit with a snowstorm on the way out, and like we get hit by lake effect snow here. It literally turned from dry to somehow, I don't know what they put on the roads, but there was like 4 to 5 inches of slush and just like 2 tracks going down the highway, and semis end up on your side of the road, and then cars started jackknifing and stuff. So I ended up peacing out, and I stopped at Alexandria. Was my first stop. So North Dakota in the morning, Fargo, all that.
So hang on a minute. You drove from Pennsylvania to North Dakota on the first day.
Yes.
Pretty intense. So on the first day, what state did you see the most ducks sitting on whatever fields, feeding their pocket water or whatever?
I didn't see many. I'm not going to lie. I'd probably say,
I mean, is it mostly snow? Was the ground mostly snow covered across there? Or no.
No. So I'd probably say Wisconsin. You could just see a little more in Wisconsin, I think, from the highway view. And then once I started getting through Minnesota and North Dakota, it started getting dark. So, so from there, let's see, I went from North Dakota. Montana is a very long state. So North Dakota, so many birds just standing on frozen ponds. Like you would just be driving down the highway, frozen pond to your right with 300 geese standing on the ice. So I don't know if they're returning and they just don't expect the water to be, or they expect the water to be open and it's not, or if that's just kind of their thing to chill on the ice. But I took a lot of pictures of it too. I'll send you some. But definitely nonstop. I just want to say, like, driving through North Dakota, it was nonstop birds everywhere. Pairs definitely, but I mean just groups of ducks and geese in just about every field, and you can definitely see why it's such an attraction. So going through Bismarck and then Mandan, I'll mention Mandan again because it's cool. But wanting to stop in at Delta and check it out, but I was just on a mission. But yeah, right past Bismarck, a big pond on your right hand side, and there's like 200 birds on it. It's froze. They're just standing on it right outside city limits. So moving forward,
I always find it frustrating when I'm in that situation where I'm somewhere where there's something I would like to do that would be cool, and I just can't do it because of time or whatever. And I know the likelihood of me getting back to that spot is slim, right? I mean, maybe you get back out to North Dakota because you hunting or whatever, but like a lot of that stuff that you're just driving through, like you don't really have a good reason to go back there. So it's always kind of like, man, I'm right here, like I should do this, but it's it sucks because you got somewhere to be and you got something to do, and not to mention all this. I mean, you, like you said, you leave and your kid's got 103 fevers, so your wife's got her hands full. Not to mention she's got the other 2 kids, so like that makes it that you and I have talked about this a million times, and I guarantee everybody that's listening to this that's done anything like this has dealt with this. If you're leaving for a hunt or you're going to do something where it's supposed to be fun, life will kick it in the in
every
the berries
time.
And like I mean, I have not left my house with like a water heater not dying or a freaking refrigerator breaking. It's always something. I mean, every time without fail.
There's so many freezers unthaw when you're gone.
Yep. Brutal.
Seems like
brutal.
So moving on, eastern Montana is very long, pretty boring. And I feel like once you hit Billings, you start seeing some mountains, and then going through, I do love seeing, just flat, and then those big mountains appear, and it's just like, that is awesome. So traveling along that is super cool. Big sky, definitely. It feels like you're on top of the world forever as you're driving through that state. But once you hit Bozeman and moving forward towards Idaho, definitely. And another thing, we've talked about this before, but depending where you go and the moisture content in the air determining how cold your hunts are going to be. So I left and I think it was in the 30s, but it was like maybe 40s. It was freezing. It was a cold, like 35 degrees at my house, just from how much moisture is in the air. When I went outside the one morning in Montana, it was like 16 degrees, and I was out there in a long sleeve t-shirt and it was fine. Like, it's just dry and no issue. So, and we hit that when we went on that Arkansas snow goose hunt. Like, there was just so much moisture in the air. It was like bone chilling, I felt like, compared to even our place. Oh, so Montana, Idaho is absolutely gorgeous. I saw a ton of ducks in Idaho. I feel
like Idaho is a little bit under the radar for a lot of things.
Yeah. And that's a quick little jump across Idaho. You know, you're way up in the panhandle there, and most of it is deep mountains, but of course I can't pronounce it, but it was Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, right there. And
it got me.
It's very French sounding, and I'm not French. But anyway, little lakes left and right, and just beautiful area, tons of birds. And
see any elk out there?
I did not. So a lot of antelope, a lot of mule deer. That was the majority of what I saw, and birds.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of sad about the lack of elk and bear spotted, but I saw 4 dead coyotes on the trip. So that's 1 coyote per 1,000 miles driven.
Solid ratio.
Solid ratio. And then getting over to Spokane.
Is Spokane the correct pronunciation?
I don't know.
If it is,
Spokane?
I've been mispronouncing it my entire life.
Spokane.
I don't know.
How do you say it? How do you say it?
I say Spokane.
Spokane. It's probably Spokane. I'm sure
I've never been there, so being that you've been there, that gives you infinitely more credibility than me.
I didn't talk to anyone.
You're essentially a local. But.
So I was south of the Big S, and as I go down, it felt like I was driving in Ohio, like just big open fields,
flat and cornfields.
Well, pretty. So there's some hills, but flat and open, and then just random groups of pine trees everywhere. And I know, just from talking to friends, like Washington has a ton of species, and definitely a place that I'd like to get out and hunt at sometime. But
yeah.
And then coming back, I stayed in Butte, Montana, and woke up and had breakfast with Saw Beer from Sitka Gear, and Brady and Trey stopped by on their way to the gym and said hi, and it was a good little break up in the morning. So sat and talked with Jim for probably about an hour over some breakfast burritos.
Over some scrambled eggs. That's cool.
Yeah, in Bozeman. So that was nice of him to run down. And then so anyone and southeastern Montana, Route 212 is a very long road, and it was, it's going through Indian reservations. I've never been to Montana before, but going through there was pretty eye-opening, I want to say, and crazy when it kind of splits off a 90 there, but not much happening there for a couple hundred miles. You get down through Wyoming, and then South Dakota. I tell you what, South Dakota is a pretty open state, but it's just pretty scenery driving through there too. That's where you get into the Badlands and stuff. So, and then Iowa, it was starting to get dark, but yeah. So that's about my trip. And then, I think out of all those states, Montana and Idaho, and I want to give Washington a fair shot here, because I was in Eastern Washington, and I assume Western Washington, from what I've heard, is much better than Eastern Washington. But Montana it's so tough to say this because North Dakota was just stacked with birds. But I want to do a hunt with mountains in the background, like some of the guys in our group post up all the time. They shoot a limit of teal or pintails and just have these snow-capped mountains in the background. I need to do that sooner than later.
Yeah. I could get with that too. I think that would be pretty cool. And it seems like when most guys think of destination locations, they think Mississippi Flyway, Central Flyway. But I think further out west, there's a lot to be had there. And it's just like a lot of things. If you don't live out there, you tend to kind of not pay as close attention to what's going on out there, I think, just because of the geographical difference. But yeah, I mean, when we talked about this, we talked about where we would like to hunt and places that we haven't. And I'm kind of taking a little bit of a different spin on it in the sense that I'm looking at the states I've not been to because it would give me a reason to go there and hunt. And the one that jumped off the page at me that's kind of out where you were talking about is Oregon. I've never been to Oregon, and I know that there's just like some unique opportunities that Oregon provides. So that would be kind of like, for me, one of those states kind of out that way that would be unique and cool to do. And short of going out there to waterfowl hunt, I'm not sure why I would go out there unless I was like hunting elk or something like that. But
yeah,
it seems unlikely that I would be doing that.
So we could drive out there in just a couple of days. Done it before.
Yeah, I mean, no biggie. I mean, we should just drive out there, hit that, and then just keep going and just work our way up to Alaska and just do it up.
Hammer it up. We need to go on a Harlequin hunt, and I don't. Does Washington and Oregon have seasons for them? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Need to figure that one out.
Yeah, I don't know.
But also, so Utah is one state I still haven't been to. I feel like I need to hunt there too. Like,
well, I mean, those great Salt Lake hunts that you see are pretty incredible. And
yeah,
I've been to Salt Lake City. I've been to Park City, that kind of stuff. Not hunted out there, but I got to see obviously some really cool footage and hear some stories about it from the torture tour that Beretta did out there.
Yeah.
So I know that experience is definitely like a unique one that would be worth making the trip out. And I mean, Utah is beautiful. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful places I've been, for the mountains and everything. So I would totally be down with that for sure.
Man. Yeah. It's kind of, I mean, if anyone's been in Northwest Pennsylvania, it's kind of,
people speak very much the same of Northwest Pennsylvania as they do of Utah.
No, it's not at all. It's a kind of a dying area and has been for a while now. And, to go to some of these other cities that are thriving, and it's just eye-opening when you see this just beautiful areas and sun shining and people are relatively happy even towards year-long pandemic and then you come home and it's just like, man, it's miserable. Like it gets you thinking, like, where can I go and enjoy life and possibly hunt some more? So but yeah, man, I tell you what though, so I got a question for you. How have you not been to Nebraska or Oklahoma?
Well, the majority of a lot of states that I've been to, I've checked off. I checked off a bunch of them in college because playing college baseball, we traveled all over the place. And at the time, Nebraska was not in the Big Ten. So had they been in the Big Ten when I played, I would have checked that box. Another big reason is we like to go hunting in Kansas. So we go there, we go to Canada, and really, I mean, it's kind of probably a similar situation that a lot of guys deal with, right? I mean, I travel a fair bit for work, not as much as I used to, but between your family obligations and your work obligations, it's just hard to take a bunch of weekends or time away. and my kids are getting older now, so it's hard for me to say, you know, my wife's big thing is she likes to do like family experiences. So like if everybody hunted, it'd be one thing, but you know, not that she would, try to stop me from doing it, but I would feel worse, So now that my son's getting older, hopefully he can come along and do stuff more. But again, we're just, life's busy. It's never, I feel like, I don't know. I'm sure it was different, or wasn't probably much different when I was a kid. I just didn't know it at the time. But, it's just hard to find the time to get out there and do that kind of stuff. But I'd be open to it. I'd definitely love to go out and hunt Nebraska, Oklahoma, never, get out to the West Coast. I've never been to Maine. Love to get up there. Love to get up to Nodak, just to say I've been there and just to do it and just to see it. All that stuff. Alaska, that's outside of that. And Kentucky's the one that I can't believe I've never been to. I've been to like everything all around Kentucky. I'm just not sure how I haven't been there. Seems really weird, but I've not been there, not been to Mississippi, like the places I'd like to, just go to see what's what. But I feel like I got a pretty good sampling. I've been to Hawaii, so I checked that one off. I'd go back there a million times for sure. And Wyoming's another one I've never been to. And and I know I know a couple guys that go hunt elk out there every year and rave about it and stuff like that. So, the least populated state, like per square mile or whatever in the Union, sounds like a good place to go.
That's Wyoming.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And you say you haven't been to Mississippi?
Not that I recall. Yeah.
I've only been there once, and I was going down to pick up Boo from Barton.
Yeah. Yeah,
I like that. They just got hit by some tornadoes. I don't think, I saw Barton's Instagram story, and they were down in the underground cellar there, and I guess nothing touched down, but it was a close call. So
if you were to be put in a position where you had to pick hunting every weekend in your home state, or maybe hunting one weekend in your home state per month, but getting to go on a hunt in, you name the state, whether you say Montana or, Oregon or whatever, you get to go on a trip. Which would you do? Would you rather hunt less and experience different, or would you rather hunt more and be like closer to home and more what you're normally doing?
It's such a loaded question, because if I was younger,
well, the answer is both, obviously. I mean, I mean, and for this scenario, because I don't think that's realistic for a lot of guys. I mean, I can tell you right now, for me, not long ago, I was hunting Saturdays and Sundays every weekend, all season long. I don't do that as much now because my family obligations just don't permit. I don't have the time to do that. So I found myself doing less local hunting, but getting away for 3 to 4 days, whether it's going up to Canada or going to Kansas or whatever we're doing. And that seems to be a good balance with my life. But, I miss being out hunting so much, getting to hunt more regularly. I certainly, missed the volume and just the time outside. But,
and this is, you look at any older guys, and I want to say, like, I don't know, mid 40s, where their kids are teenagers, and
we're not that far away there.
I know. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, teenagers, right? Like mid 40s will have teenagers, and some of the hardest hunters that I know have just put that on hold for, if it's swim practice or swim meets or, gymnastics or whatever it is. So, it's just, when it comes down to it, that time with family is more important than going and killing birds every weekend. You want to go see your kids and support them and see them succeed and do all that stuff. So it is what it is. And at this point, there's just states that I want to hunt. So if that means sacrificing more time not hunting at home, I don't want to say sacrificing, but just being around home more, and then making those trips to a couple of states, I'm kind of in that boat right now too.
But I think that question is very much relative to where home is for you. I mean, we're Atlantic Flyway home. No one's no one's out west thinking, or in the Central Flyway being like, man, I got to get in the Atlantic Flyway to shoot 2 mallards. You know what I'm saying? Like no one's thinking that. So if you live in Kansas or you live in Illinois or, somewhere that's got a great, better flyway situation right now, you might feel completely different about that because you might get really good experiences all the time where we rarely get that. So it's really just to do all the work to shoot a bird or two. While I'll never take that for granted, it does not hit the same as it does when you fold a 6-band limit in Kansas, or you shoot your limits in Canada. Like it is a just a completely different hunt we're talking here. And for me, it makes it worth it. I don't get the excitement shooting 2 birds that I do shooting 60 or whatever it is, the huge number you get in those areas. So
big old pile. Yeah, I tell you what, Canada's still that duck hunt we went on, and we had half of our limit, and I was like, there's no way we're gonna limit out today because we still needed like 24 ducks.
Mm-hmm.
And they just don't stop. They don't stop coming by the hundreds. Mm-hmm. And then before you know it, you have like 3,000 flying above you, and you're like, what is this? And that's after you limit it out, and they just keep coming, and you're packing up, and they're still trying to land there. It's incredible.
I mean, it's not hard to see why there's people that do that stuff every year, right? I mean, I totally get it, 100%. Like if you can even find a way to save money, make sacrifices throughout the year just to make that hunt happen, I get it, 100% get it. Like it's totally worth it. if that's your thing. I mean, if you're into it, it's as good as it gets. So, but again, I think the moral of the story here is that, it's more than about just pulling the trigger on ducks. It's about the entire experience. And for guys on the East Coast, the scenery is just a completely different ball game when you get out there and into those areas that you're talking about. So, whether it's the allure of the number of ducks, like you're talking about in North Dakota, or the allure of the scenery that you're talking about in Montana and Idaho, like each spot has what makes it special, right? I mean, that's what it's got. That's what its thing is. And to appreciate it for what that is the moral of the story here. So, I think we've got some things on our list that we probably want to check off in the future. And, a lot of people think that hunting out of state automatically equates to high cost, tough to accomplish. North Dakota is a perfect example. You can go up there and DIY it and do it pretty affordably. The most expensive thing you're going to commit to that type of hunt is your time, right? Then again, there's places where you can also, you can freelance in a lot of places. I think people, you just got to kind of know a little bit more about the area you're getting into, where some areas it's going to be harder to do. And in those ones, you'll need to get set up with somebody and that kind of thing. But, it can be done. And it's just one of those things where if it's got to fit what you're looking to do and fit what you're willing to put into it. So
I think what we need to do is fly into Fargo, rent a minivan or other
naturally
vehicle, hunt North Dakota, drive to Montana, hunt Montana, drive to Idaho, hunt Idaho, drive to Washington, hunt Washington, and then down to Oregon to finish it off. Turn said rental van in and fly home. What do you think?
That's a heck of a trip.
It is.
And I've never met anyone that loves to drive more than you. Like you just love driving. Like just love it. It's crazy to me.
It's I should have been a truck driver, I think.
Yeah. Break 19, big boy.
Breaker.
Convoy.
I do have a CB in that beast too.
In what your ride you got now?
Yeah.
What's your handle? I'm sure we got some truckers out there. They can hit you on the they can break 19 and you can get on the comms, man. Do you know the trucker lingo? What's your 20? No. Let's go.
No. No, I don't get on there very often.
So why do you have it?
It was in there. It's my work vehicle.
Oh, it came with.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't put it in there. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, what else you got about this trip? Anything else you want to throw at me?
No. It's
how much did you spend in fuel? Did you track it?
I didn't even track it. I stopped about every 3 hours, tried to stretch a little bit. And honestly, like, I can't believe how well my back did. And on the last day, probably around Sioux City, South Dakota, my thighs started to cramp a little bit and get sore. Chugged a Gatorade, good to go. That was it.
Just hit the electrolytes and
yeah,
it's on.
Yep, that's all I needed.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, hopefully, I think this episode was merely just to kind of get your wheels spinning a little bit about opportunities that might be out there. And, if you hadn't thought about states, sometimes, 400 million hour drive across the country will open up your eyes to some things and, make you wonder what, where other spots you might want to give it a shot. So think about that. And, maybe it's not across the country, but maybe it's just one state over. A lot of guys will look at hunting 2 states or 3 states, kind of like where I live. I tend to hunt Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, because they all give me slightly different seasonal coverage and things like that. So ducks might be out where I'm living, but they're up in PA. So I'll go up there, whatever it is, gives you more flexibility too. So a little change of scenery is not all bad. For the most part, depending on where you're at, hunting out of state licenses for, if you can just get like a 3-day or something like that, it's not too bad. But full season, can be a little more pricey, but again, do your research. You can figure out what works and what doesn't. So
yes, sir.
I think that's going to wrap it for this week. Dan, you got anything else before we close out?
Man, back on the road tomorrow. And, I will say this, in all his travels, I might have seen 40 snows.
Still south of you think?
Yeah, I assume. But I would have thought definitely driving through some of those areas, I would have seen more. But
yeah, just not there yet. Maybe.
And that was in South Dakota, so that was on the way back.
Yeah, those 40 must have just been lost.
Early birds. All right, brother. Yeah, good chat. Let's plan a trip.
All right, let's do it.
Get it?
That's going to do it for this episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out some of our past episodes, and while you're there, leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's the best way for like-minded hunters just like you to find our show. Check us out on social media, check us out over at hpoutdoors.com, and anywhere you can find quality podcast content. That's going to do it for this week. Till next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.